everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lily. I hope you all had a fantastic September. This month I read 9 books, which is quite a few more than I normally read in a month. I think my average is about 5 or 6 depending on the size of the book, so to read 9 in 1 month is quite for me. But I read quite a mix this month. I read 3 children's books, 2 general fiction, 1 non-fiction, a picture book and a YA book. So it was a bit of a mix, bit of an odd month. I couldn't really stick with one kind of mood, so I kept changing the kind of things that I was reading, and I just didn't really find anything that stuck, except I did finally begin my Harry Potter reread. The other thing, my last video was about my birthday. There are some of the things that I received for my birthday that were really lovely, but I also said that I'd started making a quilt for a colleague who's pregnant at work, and I finally finished the quilt, and I thought you might like to see. So this is the finished quilt, and I'm quite proud of it. It was the first one. It's a little bit messy in places, which I've quite well hid, I think, but I've really enjoyed making it, and I'm proud that I finished it. I finished it a lot quicker than I thought. The actual quilting bit was really quick. I think I finished that in maybe an hour and a half, and then the binding took a further 5 hours. So yeah, I've learned a lot making it, but I would like to make another one soon. I'm trying to find some different colours this time. I'd like to do more of a theme, I think. Maybe some blues and greys and purples, not sure. So see how that goes, but I'm into a proper sewing mood, so I'm hoping I'll be making a lot more things over the next few months. But now onto books. The first book that I read in September was Sara Pennypacker's Pax, which was one of my 5-star read predictions, and this so almost got 5 stars. I gave this 4.5 stars in the end, and it is a beautiful book. It was everything that I thought it'd be. Really beautifully written. She writes very sensitively about nature, the weather and moods of the landscape, and the landscape really did feel almost like a character. It was very wonderfully rendered, and the characters are really lovely as well. This book is about a little boy whose father is going to war, and before he goes to war he makes his son take back a pet fox into the wild and release him. But as soon as the boy's father goes to war, the boy realises actually he wants his pet back. He doesn't think that Pax will be able to survive on his own, so he sets off to try and rescue Pax. And along the way he meets an old woman called Vola, who was a wonderful character. She broke all the kind of stereotypes. She was very emotive as a character. I loved the way that Sara Pennypacker brought out her backstory, and it was so perfectly done. The only thing that dropped this down from being a 5-star read for me was the ending. I just felt it was very quick. We have the climax and the ending all at once, and it just felt too rushed, too quick, and the emotion that had been very controlled throughout the book and very pitch perfect just kind of, it felt like a very uncomfortable ending. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like actually the 2 characters made the right decision at the right time. I think it was the right decision. It's got quite a predictable ending. I think when you pick up a book like this, you know how it's going to end. I think there needed to be a moment of pause at the end where both characters were not in this rushed and horribly intense emotional moment, where they could make a decision that was the right decision, but impacted them both in a way that meant they left that feeling comfortable. They left that feeling like it was put to bed. But it is still a really beautiful book. I highly recommend this to anybody who's got a little one who loves nature and loves foxes, and just anyone who loves a good story about a boy and an animal. It's beautiful. The next book that I read in September is Sealskin by Su Bristow, and this one I saw a while ago on I think it was Mercedes' channel, Mercy's Bookish Musings. It's fairy tale retelling. It's about Sealskins, and it just sounded immediately like my kind of thing. And after reading Pax, I really wanted something that was warm but cold at the same time, like a setting cold. Unfortunately, the beginning of this book was the thing that put me off the most. It begins with a rape, the first chapter. It's not very detailed at all. I almost missed it at first. I was like, is that what I thought it was? I just wasn't sure, and I had to go back and reread it, and I was like, yes, that is what I thought it was. And what happens is that this man Donald, he's a young man, a young fisherman, he's quite discontent with his life, just feels like very much like an outsider. And one day, when he's out in his boat fishing alone, he comes across an island. Several Selkies have come aboard land, and they've turned into beautiful young women who are naked and running around and dancing. And he takes it upon himself to hide one of the skins that have been left on the shore, so that one of these Selkies is left behind when the others discover him. And he rapes her and he takes her home. And from there on, the story is wonderful, it's beautiful. The family unit, his mother is a very strong character. I love the way that Su Bristow wrote about the community and how the community goes through such development, really, in itself. If you consider the character of the community as a whole, at the start they are they're very isolated from each other, though they are completely in each other's business all the time. They are very, very nosy. It's a very traditional kind of community where you have the usual kind of nosiness you would expect, but nobody will interfere in other people's business, even when they feel they should. This Selkie, she's brought into the community, she's named Mary, she doesn't speak. She becomes a really big staple part of this community, and she is the first person to act in matters of this community where it is important for somebody to be acting. So there's another family who the wife and children are being beaten by this husband, and Mary just rolls right in there and she kind of just, yeah, takes control, and it's beautiful. I love the way she has such a massive effect on the community, all the characters, they all come to love her, and I love the development of Donald as a character through this story. I did like how their relationship developed and became stronger, and in the end they really do love each other, but there was always that but all the way through, that this is rape and it's not been addressed. But later in the story it is addressed, and I think it was well addressed by the characters themselves. It just wasn't well addressed by the plot, if that makes sense. But I really did enjoy reading this book. It was one that I struggled to give a rating to. I think originally I started with 3 stars because I thought, right, if I stick it in the middle, that will be that. I love it, and I'm issuey with it, and I think there's a lot of things that can be discussed about the issues in this book. But it is really beautifully written. I loved picking it up. I was thinking about it all the time. It's a lovely cozy book that really makes you feel a love of people and family and communities, and there was so much to love about it, but at the same time there was that big but, and I really wish that rape had not been a part of this book. I really don't think that first thing was needed. Yes, so in the end I think I gave this one 4 stars, but I think this is one you need to read for yourself, really, and make your own opinions of. The next book I read was Exit West by Mohsin Hamid, and this one has been doing its round on BookTube because it's been shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize. And the Man Booker books I have read in the last few years have not been particularly good that I've thought. They've all just been, they've got a particular issue or some kind of experimental writing that makes them stand out enough, I think, to have been picked, but not enough to have been an enjoyable read. And this was one of those books. I love the kind of premise of this book. It's about 2 people who are falling in love in a Middle Eastern country that's never named, while a war is brewing. And when the war kicks off, suddenly all these magical doors start appearing all over the place that take people west, and it could be anywhere west, nobody really knows. It opens up borders, and it talks a lot, I think, about the refugee crisis. It's a very topical book right now, which I think is why it's popular in some circles, though I haven't actually seen one positive review for this book. I'm not really sure where all the hype's coming from, because it's quite critically acclaimed, but nobody seems to be enjoying it. And I didn't particularly enjoy this book either. I thought it was quite just to read. It was The writing style is really, really annoying. It's incredibly long run-on sentences for no purpose whatsoever. I didn't think it added anything to the story. It didn't really give the book a voice other than to make it really listy. Everything was told, everything was summarised. There are very few actual scenes where we see things actively happening, and the characters, they're just held at such a distance. We don't really get to know them in any kind of deep way, and I didn't feel for them. Their emotion felt very flat. Their relationship felt quite cold, even when they were like in love, and there was just, I don't know, I didn't really feel like the idea of the doors, as great as it was. I really love a good portal fantasy, and this was portal fantasy but in a very realistic setting, and I thought that is such a great idea, but it just wasn't really used. It just felt like something that was summarised in the background and was more interesting as a concept than as something active in the novel. I only gave this one 2 stars. I didn't really enjoy it. I think it's a good book to read if you're curious. It was one of the ones that stood out to me most on the Man Booker Prize, but I'm not it didn't really work for me. But yeah, that's that book.